What's up, geniuses? Welcome back to For the Record. I'm your host, Rob Markman. Today, we are here to kick off our super dope Future Genius program in partnership with HP. Okay, here's what we've done. We paired three incredible established artists to come through and mentor three up-and-coming artists as they create songs over beats by Devious Minds for our first ever Future Genius EP, okay? The best part is we've also relaunched Genius Home Studio so y'all could get involved too, okay? You can now add vocals to the beats, and you can make it all on Genius Home Studio and create full songs. So head over to homestudio.genius.com to enter. We have a great conversation in store for y'all, and it's all powered by the HP Spectre laptop, okay? Which has incredible Wi-Fi connectivity and the ability to power all of my programs as we speak to today's panelists. We've got three Future Genius mentors here with us today, and we'll also hear from producer Devious Minds later on as well. Our first guest has produced for Freddie Gibbs, Vince Staples, Schoolboy Q, Ski Mask, Denzel Curry. I first met him with Big Crit at the start of both of our careers. You also might know him from his video series, The Cave. Kenny Beats, man, welcome to For the Record.
Yo, thanks for having me. How you feeling, Rob?
I'm feeling great, man. Next up, we have the winner of the first season of the Rap Game. She's been grinding for a long time. All right, in August, she released her first major label debut album, Queen of the South. She has features from Gucci Mane, 21 Savage, City Girls. I already seen her with gold plaques already. Mulatto, welcome to the show.
What's happening?
I've been looking forward to this for a long time. And finally, last but never ever least, we have one of the most creative new artists in the game, okay? She's gearing up to drop her new album, Nightmare Vacation. That's coming out on December 4th. I first met her at the Genius Barbecue. She performed. She's been on Verified many times. One of the most exciting artists of this generation. Rico Nasty, welcome to the show.
What's up, guys?
All right, so, I want to get right into it because, what we're really here to talk about today, and as this program goes further, we're going to introduce you each to an artist that you'll mentor and kind of give tips as they make their songs for this program. But I want to talk about your careers and how technology has completely changed how music is consumed. For example, right, like physical albums used to be the norm, but now it's all about streaming and viral hits on TikTok. Lotto, Rico, you two specifically have came up in a time where you didn't have to adjust going from physical to the digital era. Like you guys are native to the digital era. So, I just want to open it up. Like, how have you used the current technology to your advantage?
Yeah, I can start off by talking about TikTok. Because I feel like I've grown my followers on TikTok within like the past 72 hours. Just like literally tripled it just by talking to them. I feel like that does a lot. Like once you have your set fan base, talking to them, giving them incentives, and just speaking to your fan base with everything that you post, like whether it's a joke or something, like make sure everything is on brand. But I've really been using social media to create like a snowball effect. Obviously, you would drop a snippet, and then after you drop the snippet, you would drop like a visual type of snippet, and then you would drop the song, and it would just keep creating more stuff for your fans to follow on to, and it just never ends.
Lotto, you just recently got a gold plaque for your single "Be From the South," and I know that's huge on TikTok, right? Like when you're in the studio creating a song, you're thinking about the visual, you might think about the rollout. How are you thinking about to use the technology or use social media to market your songs?
Yeah, social media is everything, especially for artists like me. Like I got my first big break from the Rap Game, and the way they found me was through my social media following, like YouTube videos. I had a lot of followers. I think it was like Facebook at the time, whatever was popping at the time. They seen me through social media. So everything I do, music-wise, music videos, photo shoots, everything is like powered through social media, especially in a time like this, generation like this, where everything is visual. Like the people want to see you on social media. People is getting signed to major record labels through having a lot of followers on social media. People is starting with a social media following, and then a label is turning them into a rapper or turning them into a whatever, you know what I'm saying? So it all starts with social media right now. That wasn't my case, but people is becoming celebrities, real millionaires off of social media.
Nah, that's dope. Do you think it's easier, and Kenny, you can jump in on this too, man, because I know you're a student of the game and you study the history. Do you think at this time now is it easier for new artists to break through and jumpstart their careers based off of all the technology available to them?
In certain ways, yes. In certain ways, no. I mean, whenever I was starting out, there was only so many people on Twitter. I was on Twitter in 2009, not to date myself, but I would reach out to a manager who had 2,000-3,000 followers, who had huge clients. And I actually got an internship and met you on my first day of my internship at XXL, working with people. 10 years later, here we are doing an interview. Those relationships really lasted, that started on social media. But now, because there are so many people with followers, there are so many platforms, that's not the reason why artists are succeeding. I think the reason is because it's so easy to make and distribute music now in a way it wasn't for me then. I had to get in a room and be an intern and do all these different things to learn the way, to learn even what a mixing engineer or a mastering engineer or distribution or any of these things were. All I knew was making records, and then it seemed like there was a middleman I didn't understand, and then there was songs coming out. Whenever I look now to see what the resources are people have, whether it's the technology they have on their laptop to make music, or something like a DistroKid or a STEM or one of these sites that allows people to distribute their own music, you can really take social media and your computer into your hands and end up creating a whole career that the labels have to come to you. And all these big middlemen that I was interning for and trying to reach on Twitter and Instagram, those guys are going to be looking for you because you made your music yourself and you put it out yourself. Like, that wasn't possible for me when I started.
Rico, you and Kenny actually did an album together, Anger Management. You know what I'm saying? Very dope project. Y'all met on social media before anything, right? How did that go down?
Oh, he was just one of those thirsty guys in my DMs.
Stop.
He's just like, yeah, come smoke. And I was like,
Stop. This is slander.
I got my own weed, but you can slide.
Oh my.
And then he slid to the studio and we made this horrible ass song. Actually, like, we made the worst song we've probably ever made. And it was because I wasn't being myself, because I was like really nervous around him. Because once again, I met him on Twitter. Like, I don't know you. And then I told him what I really wanted to do, and he did it for me. And ever since then, our chemistry was just like, you know, really built off of what do you want? I can do it, and then I can do it with my twist on it. And we just kept building off that. But social media, I feel like our fans are like crazy about our duo, because we would like make songs and then tweet about them on social media, like, and get them super excited. Like, I can honestly say you shouldn't portray to be best friends with everybody on social media, because that can definitely backfire. And fans, they'll see like one picture and think y'all are family, and that shit is crazy. But for the relationship like me and Kenny have, like, I felt like it was really crucial to always update them and post videos of us in the studio and just get them really familiar with our relationship. Because when our music came out, it's like one big family. Like, they support it 100%. And they, you know what I'm saying? They're waiting on it and they're looking forward to seeing it, because they see that we have a real relationship, not just he's sending me beat packs and XYZ.
I ain't gonna lie. The last time I seen Rico, we definitely took a picture and I hashtagged it best friend.
Why?
And I got the most likes I ever got in my life. So, you know, sometimes you gotta fake it till you make it, Rico.
What she's saying is so true though. Like, I was tweeting Rico saying like, hey, how can we get in the studio? How can we work? Blah, blah, blah. She's like, all right, you can pull up. People were there just playing her beats or whatever. The first night I met her off of Twitter, we got a plaque. Literally. For the first night we ever met, you know what I mean? And it all came from just being confident enough to reach out to someone you want to work with. And I think whether it's a big artist that you've never worked with or it's someone who's from your hometown, it's like, that's what you can do, especially right now with what we're all going through, to get to somebody and start making some music right now.
But it's also about a true collaboration, like having fun. Like I look at artists like betas, and you can't put two betas in a fish tank. You can't put two really big egoed artists in a studio session together, because they might butt heads. But if it's like a genuine, we fuck with each other, we can relate to certain jokes together, and the music it's gonna be awesome, because you guys already have stuff that y'all can relate to. Is not just random, okay, who is this? I'm just going to get on the song. It's more natural.
Latto, I want to ask you this question because, you know, part of this program and what we're doing is we're going to pair you with up-and-coming artists that you may have never heard of. And, you know, you're still relatively, though you're a star and you really broke out, especially this year, you're still relatively new in your career yourself. So there's things you're experiencing for the first time. But what I wanted to ask you, especially with social media, do you get a lot of young and up-and-coming artists hitting you up and asking you for advice?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I think especially because people seen my come up. Like, people seen me start rapping at 8, 9, 10 years old. be grinding, doing open mics, talent shows, building this social media following, funding everything myself, catching the eye of the producers of the Rap Game at 16, shooting that, and really that being like my first breakout introduction to the world. And then boom, 5 years later, signing to RCA and receiving a plaque and collabing with my favorite rapper. Like, people see my come up and they see it's genuine. So I feel like people, like, they could relate to me, and it's kind of like, oh, she got it out the mud. She not related to nobody already rich or established in the industry. You know what I'm saying? They see me like really work for it, and I think that's why they like are attracted to me. Like, I get so many DMs, like, and I think it's just because like my story is relatable to an independent artist that really is hungry.
What kind of questions do they ask you? Do you get any good questions? Because a lot of it might be like, check out my song. I know a lot of people might slide in there asking for features and stuff like that. But what's the most common question you get asked by up and comer, or the thing that you see up and coming artists trying to struggle with and figure out?
I feel like the most common question is like, how do you get started? Because I think like people, they see it, but they don't really know like how do you execute it. Like, I know you go to the studio, I know you put out music videos, but how do you connect? You know what I'm saying? I think that's probably where I get the most questions about. And for me, it's just like consistency. Like, I think people expect this to happen overnight. I started rapping at 8, 9, 10 years old, and I'm 21, and like you said, I'm still a new artist. Like, I'm just now getting my foot through the door, and it's 10, 11 years later, you know what I'm saying? So I think people, they know like what to do, but they don't know like how to do it and how to connect with the people and like take a studio session and receive a plaque from it. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And that's amazing. I remember too, when we had our first interview, it was over the phone right after the Rap Game. I think JD hit me and was like, look, man, I got this artist. I need her to break down some of these lyrics. And you were so dope back then. So to see you get the success now, and that was about 4 or 5 years ago. It's amazing to see you where you're at now. So congratulations on that. And, you know, I throw the same question out to all of y'all. Like, Kenny, I know a lot of up and coming artists hit you up, especially they see the Cave, they see the production, they see you on Twitch. What's the common questions that you get from people kind of maybe seeking mentorship or advice from you?
What Mulatto said is true. It's a lot of the time, how do you get your foot in the door? How do you get started? How do you get next to an artist as a producer? How do you get next to bigger people as an artist? But for me, the number one question has been, how do you stay inspired? How do you always have more ideas? How do you know what you want to do next? How do you know what your sound is? These kinds of things, which are not a simple answer question. Not that the other one is either, but at least whenever you can talk to someone about a path, you can tell them your story. You can tell them what worked for you and what didn't, or what you've seen that's worked. With staying inspired, it's like putting magic in a bottle. You know what I mean? It's hard to tell someone how this person stays inspired because that doesn't work for the next person. But for me, the one thing I always try to tell kids to focus on and think about, or not even kids, just anybody who's a peer of mine or whoever who asks me this question, is focus on your favorites and the people that you're obsessed with and the artists that you could never stop listening to, or the ones you grew up on or whatever. Go watch their videos in the studio. Go watch their interviews. Go just watch whatever video of them kicking it or whatever from the golden era or when they were on top. If that doesn't inspire you to go in and make some shit or do whatever, it's like, you might be different than me. But all I have to do is watch one Rick Rubin video, one Madlib video, one old Kanye video, one old Gucci video, whatever it is. And it's like, oh, I need to go make a classic. I remember why I do this. I do music. I don't do anything else. Sitting around and trying to base it off what anybody else is doing has never kept me inspired. It's always been like, focus on what I love, go in and make it. And the second question that Mulatto was talking about getting on, I think that comes faster when your barometer is your friends and the people around you, and not the internet and what's hot and the playlist and getting the Rob Markman interview. Don't focus on that yet. Like, that's going to come. Right now, focus on making every single person around you and in your town and in your city and that knows you, oh, that's the hottest person I know. That's the most fire rapper where I'm from. That's the most fire artist where I'm from, singer, whatever. It starts there. Focus on the people you know and yourself and making everybody around you happy with your music. That's the most inspiring thing to me. Fuck the internet.
Nah, true. But also, too, 2020 has been different, you know, as you said, with COVID and this pandemic. It really kind of threw a lot of creative people off. and force creatives to come up with new ways to do things. Rico, I want to throw this question to you because you have the album coming on December 4th, which you've been cooking up for us. How has the pandemic changed the creative process for you, and have you leaned on different technologies to help you create during this time?
I don't think the pandemic has really ruined anything necessarily for me because I was never a person that would go to like the clubs or be at like a lot of parties. I'm very under a rock type of person. So it's just like when it happened, I kind of looked at it like a good thing. Like, okay, so now I don't have to go anywhere. Yay. And it actually like inspired me to make different shit just because I was in the house and actually like had some time to myself, had some time to like what Kenny just said, listen to old artists that I used to love and just go back and kind of think about like why I do this, like why do I make music? And I got inspired. I also got inspired by like obviously just bruh, this year for female rap has gone stupid. Like bitches is we coming for their necks, all right? And motherfuckers see that shit. You hear me? Like they see it loud and clear, they hear it loud and clear, they feel it. And that shit has also kept me going too because I feel like it's real hard to shine without a little bit of friendly competition, bruh. I'm a Taurus. So I'm all here for like constantly just seeing people doing their thing. And you know, when I get low and I'm like, oh fuck, like I want to give up. I look at somebody who probably just started off, but they ain't giving up no matter how many doors probably closing in their face or how many people and critics are talking down on them, they not stopping. So I don't know, watching how people just move in general, that shit is inspiring because one man's nightmare is another man's vacation. And that's another reason why I named that shit Nightmare Vacation because a lot of shit I got through that I feel like a lot of people couldn't.
Nah, for sure. And I can't wait to hear it. First of all, I'm gonna need that early. I'm gonna need that before anybody else. But I'm not gonna. We're not here for that right now. I'm not gonna hold you to that. But I'm just putting it out there. Lotto, your major label debut, your big moment, also came out during this pandemic, where it's challenging maybe to shoot videos or to just get things done. Definitely to be at concerts and go on tour and do the things that you need to do to promote an album. How were you able to adjust? One thing I saw you, and I just want to shout out, I did see you with Gucci Mane over there at the BET Hip Hop Awards, and y'all brought Magic City to life, for those of us who couldn't be there. So that was pretty dope. So just talk about the different creative things you've done during this pandemic to put yourself in the forefront.
Yeah, so my little experience with the pandemic is like so crazy. So I signed in December of last year, but we just kept it under wraps and like was building this whole plan like for a rollout. And then we announced it in March and the pandemic hit a month later. So we had built this whole like huge rollout, extensive marketing plans, like everything was planned out, ready to hit the ground running. And then a month later, the pandemic hits and we all had to go back to the drawing board. Like my song with Gucci, that was the first time that I had flew out since the pandemic. Like I was super scared to go to Miami and I had to shoot the video though. And then it was like we had to keep masks on set. It's police stopping by to make sure everybody got their masks on or they're going to shut the video shoot down. It's a limited amount of people that can be on set. It's COVID test before anybody comes on set. Even I had got double XL this year and they told me that I had it probably like around April, but it was no plan for the cypher. Like they like, I don't know how we're gonna shoot the cypher yet. I don't know how we're gonna do the photo shoot yet, but you got it. So I'm like, okay, like, do I celebrate? Do I not celebrate? Like, I don't know how, you know what I'm saying? So the pandemic been crazy, but it's also a blessing in disguise. Like Rico was saying, is like, it gives you time to be at home and just really hone in on like why you do it and like study more and just be inspired and just, cause you could be doing performances and interviews, like you just get caught up in other things. And like for me personally, like before the pandemic, I was on tour. I was just so busy where I wasn't in the studio as much and I wasn't as inspired because I was just running dry, like energy. I'm doing photo shoots, video shoots, just super running ragged. And it kind of gave me time to like rewind.
You killed the thing in the cypher too. I see you shooting vibes at Fabio. You definitely made a moment. Yo, Kenny, I want to go back to you as a producer, because we launched this Genius Home Studio thing early in the year, which is basically a DAW system.
I used it. I used it on Twitch.
You reviewed it. We saw the review of it. And
Yeah.
I don't want to be so self-serving. I definitely would love to have you talk about Genius Home Studio, but in the bigger picture of things, right? Because it used to be that producers had to really invest in hardware, drum machines, then the game turned to software. So when you just look at how technology has changed the production game, because none of these artists are spitting spoken word. We all need beats for our music. It starts with the beat. So talk about how the technology has changed the production game and aided your growth as a producer.
Well, like, it doesn't seem fitting right now. I'm sitting in a room with a bunch of instruments, a bunch of guitars and synths. Everything you've ever heard from me, whether it's a record from Gucci, DaBaby, Rico, whoever you can think of, or a song I did for a singer-songwriter, Dominic Fike, Omar Apollo, anything you've heard from me, I made on a laptop with speakers and an aux. And I would show up to studios and I'd be in this big studio with consoles and all this equipment and everything. And I'd ask for the aux. And I'd put my laptop on top of everything in this giant studio. And that's all I would need. And for me, it's still all I'll ever really need. You know what I mean? If I have my computer, I have enough processing power to do all the vocals I need to do and do all the plugins and everything I need to work with. Like, I'm good. And for me, it didn't feel like that when I was younger. It felt like you needed to know everything in the studio. When you walk in these rooms that have a million buttons in there, if you don't know what everything does, you're not a real producer, this kind of thing. Like, I went to music school with kids who did produce, and they would tell me like, oh, I'm taking acoustics classes and all this shit. And I'm like, man, I only know how to use Fruity Loops or Ableton or whatever it is. And at this point in my career, I'll be in rooms I dreamed about being in. And do I play instruments? Yes. Are there other things I know about now I did when I was younger? Yes. But still, everything I'm doing is kind of this little secret world I have on my computer and on my hard drive with like my sounds and what I need, and like, that's a blessing for producers right now. You can have a Splice account, you know what I mean? And have a computer and make something for Mulatto, Rico, anybody you can think of. Make the biggest song in the world right now on your laptop. And when I was younger, it just, that didn't seem possible. And now it's the norm, and watching Deconstructed every day. What does everybody do? They pull out their laptop and they break down, you know what I mean? Everything they made on it. It's never this like, oh, I stepped over here to the grand piano. Like, you know what I mean? There's so much more opportunity now.
It was funny, out of all the Deconstructed episodes we did, I can only think of 3 that people did analog. It was Ludwig when he showed us Redbone and how he did Redbone.
Ludwig doesn't count. He's doing full
Ludwig
scores.
Doesn't count. We did an old school one with the Heatmakers to show us how they did Dipset Anthem. So
MPC.
Of course they used the MPC. And if I think Dame Grease, Forget At Me Dog, actually made that on turntable. So but for the most part, you're right. Everybody's whipping out their laptop and showing you the software.
And they're showing you the biggest songs of the last couple years,
Okay.
So I think that's something now that is respected as a norm. You know what I mean? It's like we have control in our bedrooms of the biggest songs ever. Look at Jetson Made It. Look at Nick Mira. You know what I mean? These kids are having number ones after number ones. They're 17, 18 years old with a laptop.
Yep. Okay, so the next part of this too, and I want to shout out the artist that we'll be introducing to you later on in a whole other segment on another day, but we have Doughman, we have Alex, and we have Vintage Lee, who are 3 up-and-coming artists that y'all will be giving advice to. They're going to show off their songs to you all. But before we get there, I want to kind of go around the room, and we could start maybe with Latto, of who are some of the mentors that helped you break through, that you kind of leaned on during your come-up?
Okay, so like from the jump, I'm the biggest Nicki fan. I'm a Barb, period.
I saw her shout. She's been showing you a lot of love on social media.
Yes, and she's my header on Twitter right now. That tweet is my header on Twitter right now. But so when I was like, my dad is a hip hop head, so I grew up listening. Like I heard Foxy, Remy, Kim, Gangsta Boo, Trina. Like I heard all these females growing up, but Nicki was the first female rapper that touched my generation as far as like introduced us to female rap again. You know what I'm saying? So I was like I know I was in 5th grade, so however old you is in 5th grade, when Nicki came out, I cut my hair in a bang, dyed the underneath pink, had a Barbie chain, all that. So that's like my biggest inspiration off rip. You know what I'm saying? And then Gucci always been my favorite rapper. I'm from Atlanta. Like I was born in Columbus, Ohio, but my parents moved to Atlanta when I was 2 years old. So everything about me is like Atlanta. Like I went to Atlanta schools, listened to Atlanta music. Everything was Atlanta. So the people who was running Atlanta is Gucci, Tip, Jeezy. Like I grew up on these people. So Gucci been my favorite rapper, and now I got a song with Gucci. Crazy.
And he tried to
But,
sign
yeah.
you, he said on the song, too.
Yeah, crazy. But that was like, she just signed the RCA or whatever. That's a dub. But yeah, Gucci, I grew up on Gucci. Nicki was my inspiration from the jump. But just like as far as like Atlanta aesthetic, Atlanta culture, Gucci always.
Rico, did you have any mentors growing up? Did you have anybody that you got to lean on when you had your hard times and you didn't know which way to go and you was kind of discovering who you were as an artist?
I feel like I'm really out there in the weird sense. So I feel like all the OGs, it's gonna take some time before they try to reach down and say anything nice about me. But I feel as though growing up, my favorite, this is gonna sound crazy, but my favorite was Tyler the Creator, which, I mean, go figure. And I just always loved Tyler because so many people would just talk shit about him and he could just turn that shit into a joke or spin it off, or everything was just about him. And I love that. I mean, even his clothes, like everything was about whatever he wanted it to be, and it was something we never seen before. So I remember she talk about cutting her hair and her bangs to Nicki Minaj. I used to wear them fucking little ass fucking capri shorts with the fucking Supreme hats, and my pictures used to be highly saturated. It was a mess. Like I was really writing Odd Future on everything, and it was a mess. But I really fuck with how her music can reflect that. Like you hear that, and then mine's, you can hear my influence. That shit is so crazy to me, how our brains like pick shit we love and just make us into these individual human beings. That's weird as shit. But that shit is like, other than Kenny, as far as the industry, like when I got in the industry, no, I didn't get any big songs. I just got a Gucci Mane song. I didn't get to meet Gucci, but I love Gucci. But I didn't get any, I didn't really meet anybody. Like I said, a lot of my shit was on the fucking internet. It was literally retweets and likes, and I'm at home with my friends.
Rico, you know who was big mentor-wise for you? I feel like, what about Earl?
Okay, Earl Sweatshirt. And that's crazy because that's still our future. Yeah, Earl. Because Earl always checks in on me. And
he was at your show, remember? He was sitting backstage at your show in LA.
Earl, JID, and JIDK. But they're not like OGs. Those are just really good friends who always like, you're not lonely out here, bitch. We got you.
Right. But that's funny because you're right. Because I think traditionally you would think that it would have to be a super OG. But maybe it's just somebody who might have came in the door a little bit before you, who could tell you, listen, you're going to walk through this door, step to the left because the trap is on the right, like da-da-da-da-da. And that's why I'm excited about having y'all mention these young artists that we got about to introduce you, because it's not like you're super OGs, but you are very accomplished, each of y'all in your own right, and in a position that so many artists aspire to be in. So just to get game from Rico, who might have just went through it last year, and then you could give some advice or to ask somebody how to avoid the pitfalls. Kenny, man, last one for you, man. Who are some of the mentors? I know we talked about Johnny Shipes earlier in the game. Did you have any mentors or somebody that helped you guide your way through it so you could get this career popping?
I've had a couple. I really look up to producers because I'm a producer. So some of the people that have given me life-changing advice, Rick Rubin, Benny Blanco has changed my life a couple times with talks we've had, and everyone knows what his track record looks like. Same with Rick. And honestly, Mark Ronson too. And these are all guys who gave me very different advice than anybody else super successful I've been able to be around or talk to. And the advice they all kind of gave me at the same time was make yourself hot. You know what I mean? Like Benny was someone who told me when I was having 100 songs come out in a year, I was producing all this stuff, I was getting all this love at once. Everyone was telling me, Kenny, start a company, start signing people, start doing this and that. Maybe you should take a bunch of producers on. And I was like, man, it doesn't feel right. I want to mentor somebody whenever I can really kill it for them. When someone sees, oh, Kenny Beats is helping this kid out, they're going to go crazy. It's like, I didn't want to do it. And Benny told me, make yourself hot first. You know, like Rick told me he's been in a room with every rich person, every Dubai house party, every yacht, every plane you could ever be in your whole life. He would never trade anything that he ever did with any of those people to be any of those people, because every single day he worked on music he was proud of. He worked with people he thought were the most genius people in the world. That's what I try to do. I try to just work on shit I think is fire all the time and nothing else. And then I never look back with any regrets, period.
That's dope, man. Well, we're definitely cooking up right now. Like I said, we have 3 artists. We have Alex, we have Doman, we have Vintage Lee, and they're all cooking up over some productions that Devious Minds, who is another up-and-coming producer, he made the beats. They're cooking up. So we'll have that to present to you shortly, and you'll hear the songs. Hopefully you can hear some talent. Hopefully you might have some game. This conversation is friendly. I have a feeling it's going to start heating up, man. The competition is going to be fierce. I want to thank all of y'all for just coming through and having this conversation and helping me set the table for what this is going to be. We are super excited. We're going to speak to Devious Minds in a minute, but Kenny Beats, Rico Nasty, Big Latto. I just wanted to give y'all flowers, man, because y'all deserve it, and I get so inspired just watching y'all this year. Hasn't been a ton of high points this year for a lot of us personally, but seeing all of y'all continue to exceed just makes us aspire to be the best that we can. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rob.
All right, now that we said goodbye to Kenny Beats, to Rico Nasty, to Big Latto, they're going to come back later. You're going to see them in a whole other video where they're mentoring our up-and-coming artists who I mentioned is Doman, Alex, and Vintage Lee. I want to hear from the producer because, again, this is music, all right? We're not doing poetry. The collaboration, it all starts with the producer. And from Toronto, we have Devious Minds, okay? He started DJing in high school before he was working a little bit with the XO Camp. He was working with Way Cool. Now he's a part of this Future Genius program with us, and he produced each of the beats from all the emerging artists that you're about to hear. And he put all the stems over there for you on the Genius Home Studio. So for all you up-and-coming producers, as you start putting your beats together, these are Devious Mind sounds. And I thought it was only right if we get the man on the line for a little while and just have a little conversation about his process, all right? So Devious Minds, man, welcome to For the Record.
Woo! What up, Rob? Woo! Thank you for having me.
Nah, you got it, man. Thank you for being a part of this, man. You're such a big part of the Future Genius program. I just wanted to talk about like what your creative process was like when producing a track. I know before you might not have heard of the artist, again, Vintage Lee, Alex, and Doman, and you started to dig a little bit into their discographies and see what they were about. Once you got accustomed to their sound, what was your approach for producing these tracks?
To me, like, all 3 of them are like new artists, so it was kind of a refreshing to see and to be able to like go through all their their discographies that they had just to see what they were on and what they were working on and what kind of vibes they were on. But I was kind of already familiar with Doman. I think he was one of the most exciting people, up and coming artists that I feel that is out in the game right now.
When you're making beats for particularly for new artists, right, who don't have much, they may not be as defined. Like, if you're making beats, let's say for somebody like a Gucci Man who has 20 years in the game, you kind of know what he likes. When it's a new artist, they're still developing a sound. Do you try to craft beats to a specific artist's sound, or do you kind of leave it wide open to where the artist can kind of play and experiment over one of your beats? Like what approach do you take?
That's a great question. To me, like, it's always different every single time, right? So, like, at first, when I first started, like, pitching beats to people and stuff, I was trying to, like, almost give them exactly what they were already on. Like, if they already had, like, a certain vibe, I would try to emulate that kind of vibe. And then it got to a point where people kind of pulled me to aside and they told me, yo, like, we holler at you for beats for a reason. You do a specific thing, or you do a certain thing, or have a certain vibe. It's cool to incorporate our sound, but never forget what you do, right? It's equally important. So I try to keep it like a balance, right? Of like, Gucci Man, for an example, would be like, I would try to do what Gucci does and try to incorporate like a little bit, try to give him a little more soulful vibe, just because I just love a lot more soulful music.
Nah, that's dope. That's great. That's great advice, particularly for up-and-coming producers. It's like, okay, you want to cater to the artist, but you still want to be unique. So you want to bring something to the table that they can't get anywhere else. So even when we talk about mentorship for all the up-and-coming producers who are watching this, that's actually some really good advice. I want to go back into your past a little bit though, because you did something very interesting back in 2008 on the site. If everybody is familiar with the blog era, you know, when we came up, this is where we discovered artists like Wale and Drake and Kid Cudi, well, you know, all on these blogs, and Nipsey Hussle. There's a blog called Two Dope Boys, which used to post your music, and you did like an early version of what is known as type beats today. I remember you did a project of like beats I would have gave to Mos Def, or you'll pick an artist and you know, you would title it beats I would have gave to XXXXX. You know what I'm saying? And that was like early type beats. Talk about that, man, because that was a really interesting time, and I think a really interesting trend that even though we call it type beats now, a lot of the origin goes back to those tapes.
Yeah, trust. Because like in 2007, 2008, the only avenue for like producers really like was like a website called SoundClick. I don't even know if people even still use it. I don't know if it's still active, but that was a pretty predominant place for like producers to put up beats, right? And that was probably the only one. And sure, there's probably like, you know, a few other ones, but so I looked at the game like, yo, how come no one's just giving you know, their beats out to people? I was still in high school at the time, and like I wasn't really too concerned about getting a paycheck or just getting beats or money for beats. I just wanted to make music with just people, and there's so many people on the internet who are making music just on the internet, not even on like on a major scale. Like they weren't even on TV over here, like in Canada, like Blue and Exile and like You and I and like Fayshawn, and these guys were making phenomenal. Like to me, like that's the closest hip hop came to like a new golden age, right? So but these guys are doing it on the internet and like through like sites like Two Dope Boys and Not Right. So I just like had an idea one day. I just wrote an email to like Mecca from Two Dope Boys, like, yo, I have an idea for an instrumental beat tape. Would you guys, you know, would you be down to like help push this? And then they were really down with it. Like they hit me back within like 4 minutes, and like that was like the craziest response. And they really believed in it. So I put together a batch that I thought Mos Def would like, you know, sound good on, and then they posted it up, and I kept doing it every month for like maybe a year and a half, and it really took off. Like I got some crazy opportunities from that. So I think like at that time producers were very scared of people stealing their music or people, you know, like ripping their stuff and making like illegal songs or like, you know, not getting the rights for it. But I didn't look at that as like a disadvantage. I thought like, you know, no one's gonna steal no whack stuff.
Right. So if it was hot, it was hot. No, and it's dope because now what we look at tight beats, and I think what you're talking about in that blog era when you mention artists like You and I and Fashawn and Blue and Exile, and SoundClick, right? And these blogs, this is where fans and artists congregated and a lot of great collaborations. So again, the whole theme of what we're talking about is technology just fostering great collaboration and great work. Like sometimes you could be producing for somebody who you might not be in the same city or the same country, but you can make a song that could really affect the world. And when you kind of look at that concept, obviously there's producers like Taz Taylor who got his start making type beats. Or if you even go back to a big hit like Designer's Panda from a couple years ago, was made by a guy named Menace who was in the UK. And I don't know if they ever met. I think they might have just emailed the beat or done something like that. So I'm really excited about this Future Genius program. I'm really excited about the boundaries and the walls that we can break down with the technology that we're using. And I'm really happy to have you a part of it, man. I can't wait for you to hear the songs that Alex, Doman, Vintage Lee have created over the beats that you've made for them.
Oh, I'm excited, man. You know, like I can't wait.
All right, man. Kenny Beats, Rico Nasty, Mulatto, Devious Minds, thank you so much for joining us today and for rocking with our Future Genius in partnership with HP. For all y'all at home, once again, thank you for watching. If you want to have a chance to be featured on our site, be sure to head over to homestudio.genius.com to start creating your track, beat, vocals and all. You can upload it. If we like it, we're going to put it on the site, okay? As always, my name is Rob Markman, and this has been For the Record. Thank you for watching. Peace.